Lonnie, thank you very much for coming back into the Just People offices. Good to see you again.
Thanks.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and thank you for the invite. I love to talk about cybersecurity, information security issues. So we couldn't be here for hours, but yeah.
Well, we've only got a short amount of time, but we'll try and cram in as much as we possibly can. So, Lonnie, so you're the Cisco security lead for the Northern region.
Yes.
You're a good nearly 20 years in the industry, and frankly, I don't know anyone in the security community that doesn't know you, frankly.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's great to have you here, and obviously the work with ASA that we're going to obviously talk about today.
Yeah.
You're the Queensland branch chair, and obviously recently you've just been made the advocacy lead.
Yeah, I'm on the Advocacy Board.
Yeah.
So
tell us a bit more about the advocacy side of it in terms of the public relations channel that you're looking to promote.
So the Advocacy Board was born from a lot of requests to ASA to speak at public conferences, to talk to media, journalists calling up for either print media or online media, to talk about our opinions on certain aspects, whether they be breaches or regulations, laws, etc. So the Advocacy Board was born to give some sort of structure to the public relations side of ASA. So it is effectively that, talking at conferences. I spoke late last year at a financial services conference. Done a couple of media interviews each month, so to speak. So yeah, it keeps me quite busy.
I'm sure it does. I mean, you can't switch on the news. I mean, I watch the morning news every day, and even mainstream media is constantly talking about, such and such PlayStation's breached, or Sony pictures, or, obviously we're all sick of Target now in terms of the sort of news that sort of came from that. You must be getting an awful lot of requests at ASA in terms of finding, from the media, finding out, sort of information that the general public wants to hear.
No, a lot more. Look, going back, a year to 18 months ago, we would be, hard pressed to actually find a security story in the mainstream media.
Sure.
Fast forward a year, and there's literally not a week that goes by that we don't see some news in there about some sort of vulnerability like Heartbleed or Poodle, etc. Or unfortunately a particular breach, and usually it's a high-profile one.
Massively, absolutely. Why is that? I mean, my sort of layman's view on that would be perhaps that the general public is increasingly savvy when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
Everyone's staring into an iPad, an iPhone, some sort of device. Is it because the overall media think that understand the public want to hear about this stuff because it's more interesting now?
I think so. I think there's a lot of reasons, and I think you hit the nail there on the head in terms of news is so ubiquitous these days. In terms of Twitter, in terms of social media. So there's that. There's the interest, because a lot of these breaches are fairly high profile, and of course news sells, etc. So it's becoming more and more high profile. But I think one of the main reasons I tend to think of is just some of these organisations that are getting breached. I mean, predominantly all of them are US based that we hear about, but you look at the likes of Target USA, 70 million credit card records, JP Morgan Chase, they look after about $1 trillion worth of funds. These high-profile companies getting breached, it has to generate news. Sony Pictures, in terms of So yeah, I think it's a combination of all those factors, but yeah, primarily I think it's just the newsworthy, high-profile breaches that we're seeing.
And people love to open the paper and read that stuff.
Correct.
Absolutely. I mean, what is it sort of, what impact is, obviously reputation can be the biggest hit on any business that's been compromised in any way, but particularly from a cyber or sort of a technology perspective. Are organisations sitting up? Are the boards sitting up and actually taking note of this, or is it still an uphill battle to sort of get that buy-in and raise awareness?
That's a great question.
And get spend.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one that I sort of face daily, talking to a lot of organisations. And actually, a colleague of mine, Sally Ernst, and I did a research piece that we presented at the national conference last year, and it was around interviewing 100 plus board members. And these people were on boards of organisations from as little as $3 million right up to, I think one we interviewed was up to about $150 million a year organisation. So and they're on multiple boards. So these would spread across about 200-300 organisations. And we boiled it down to a few factors. And the thing is, there is a desire from these board level, executives to embrace and sort of increase their awareness about cybersecurity matters, etc. But it just comes down to a lack of understanding and also a lack of trust who they can approach.
Well, that's right. 'Cause I'm sure there's unknown numbers of sort of vendors that are willing to come in and solve their
Correct.
problems,
Correct.
and it's hard to sort of quantify the benefit of a certain amount of spend, which I'm sure it may be a lot, it may be a little, but it's spend at the end of the day, and you know, times are tough for many businesses. You know, it's hard to sort of prove an outcome.
Yeah.
When there is no breach, when there was no compromise before,
Correct.
and there isn't after. How do you sort of say, well, you know, well done, you've spent $1 million?
And that was one of the points that were brought up. A lot of these board directors would say that, look, we budget for business as usual type spend for organisations. One person said that they had budgeted, I think it was like $4 or $5 million per year on cybersecurity spend. So he said that when he received, you know, requests for an additional $500,000, $1 million of additional spend, he would have to question, you know, if we haven't had a breach, why are we spending, you know, more money? And what, in effect, he wanted to see was, he said, look, you know, we want to see cybersecurity reporting that reports in our language. So give us something that looks like a balance sheet, or that gives us some sort of return on what we're spending.
Absolutely. I saw an interesting metric in CERT Australia's 2014 report, and it was just a point that I read today, and it was something about IT security issues or risks aren't on the organisational risk register.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
yet they could bring a business down. We've seen it before.
Correct. It's still there. That's one of the key things that I did see in that CERT report. But it's something that I see in organisations again over and over and over again. And I think it comes down to the maturity. Cybersecurity as a field, as a practice, as a discipline, you know, is not as mature as a standard IT. So I think, you know, as we see more breaches, as we see more awareness, more spend, we have to justify the spend. So yeah, I think we'll see more, let's say, appropriate practices, like putting it on the company risk register.
And actually, even having it maybe owned by the business, maybe as opposed to IT. But I'm sure that's another massive discussion.
It is. It is another massive discussion. And again, it's a maturing of cybersecurity as a practice. We are starting to see it sort of being removed from IT as a sort of, you know, together in terms of its own standalone sort of vertical within organisations of certain sizes.
Well, it's not just technology. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, you know, the fundamentals of security are people, process, and technology.
Correct.
Process and people can stand aside from technology and still open some pretty scary doors.
No, that's right.
Into your business. So it must be looked upon by, or it could potentially be looked upon as an issue for the CEO.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree.
Not just the IT guy.
And a lot of organisations are doing that. They will have the technology aspect still run by IT, but they'll split out the process, architecture, governance, etc., into another maybe 1 or 2 person team that will advise.
That's right.
Yeah. But the key there is whether the advice is strong enough for you know, the powers that be to take notice.
Because again, you take that. You know, you do the risk assessment. You say, well, we accept the risk. We'll keep on going, and there's always that as well. You know, and you know, a lot of the media we see, we've talked about, you know, a lot of the, you know, PlayStation. We've talked about, you know, the top retail chains. We've talked about some of the banks, financial institutions, some technology companies even. What about some of the manufacturing side? Some of the ones that you don't immediately think of as a business, not, you know, from say the industrial side, you know, the plants, you know, the power gen, the critical infrastructure. Where are you seeing any trends around that in terms of them being attacked?
We're seeing actually a lot more of these organisations being targeted. Non-traditional IT in the industries you talked about, manufacturing, critical infrastructure, nuclear power plants, you know, power generators, etc. A lot more activity in that space. Traditionally, it's been a lot less because the skill required to exploit and to actually do something nefarious is a lot higher, or you require specific skill sets. But there was a case last year in December that was announced in Germany. It sort of got lost in the news around Sony pictures, etc. But there was a German power plant. It was only the second ever known case where it was proven that a cyber attack actually caused a physical sort of destruction of certain parts of that plant.
Good Lord, what happened?
So what happened was, you know, traditional kill chain. You know, the attacker got in via a spear phishing email, jumped into the corporate network. The networks apparently weren't segmented well, so they could easily find their way into the process control network. And what they did was they turned off the failsafe to a blast furnace. It exploded, causing a lot of physical damage, but thankfully no harm was caused to anyone.
No harm to people.
Yeah,
but what a tragedy, you know. I mean,
it is a tragedy, and the scary thing is it looks like it was just a proof of concept attack. So the person had to know the specifics about the process control system that was being used. So, you can discount your would-be hackers or even hacktivists. So it had to be, either a very well-organized criminal team or a nation state sort of using it as a proof of concept attack.
Because where would you get those kind of controls in a lab to sit there and start, reverse engineering to sort of find the exploits?
Correct.
Stuxnet was something that was, 2009 or 10, if memory serves me right. That was another. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah, that was first. This is the second that we've known about,
Yeah.
and that was, purportedly state-sponsored because you had to actually have access to the equipment to work out the sort of things they did. So
I don't know about you, but I haven't got a SCADA control system sitting in my backyard.
No.
But I'm
or
not sure.
robotic arms or blast furnaces either. So it requires a lot of skill.
Absolutely.
Which sort of points to, as I said, more to a nation state, more to a very highly skilled cyber criminal organisation.
That's it. Well, it's certainly a lot to be thinking about for the next few years and obviously today. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of ASA, obviously ASA's a great organisation. It's brilliant for Australia. I've been to quite a lot of the Queensland branch meetings, only in the last year or so. But to see the numbers swell, it's just it's fantastic, and a few new faces, and people asking me about it as well in the course of my work. It's just brilliant. I mean, what's new on ASA's sort of calendar and sort of horizon?
Well, the numbers is a good point. Look, we had our national conference last year in Melbourne.
It's a 2-day conference, right?
It was a 2-day conference.
Yeah.
It went from a 1 to a 2-day conference.
Good.
We had just under 1,000 people come in, 1,000 members.
That's good because you're expecting 800, I think.
Yeah,
So
we
that's 200 more.
budgeted for about 800, 900, and we had to actually had a wait list. So unfortunately, we had to turn a few members away.
I didn't make the dinner, unfortunately. It was booked up. I didn't really get in there, unfortunately.
But no, it's been hugely successful. The national conference. That's something that's growing. But from a local level, we continue to have our branch meetings and networking-based activities, and we've got our own sort of mini conference here in Brisbane in March, which is a good thing. It's
BRISSEC.
BRISSEC,
Can't wait
that's right,
for
BRISSEC 2015. So we've decided to take that national sort of conference feel and give a Brisbane sort of attitude to it.
Yeah.
And we've got 300 members here locally. So
There's some great talent in Brisbane.
It's a great talent
meet
pool.
them every day, and there's some great guys and girls out there doing wonderful things.
Highly skilled individuals as well.
And very passionate too.
Yeah. So we want to engender a lot more sort of engagement in the ASA sort of Brisbane branch. So our Brisbane conference, or BRISSEC, is for our members. So we're looking to get as many of those 300 members in. So the name of the game is if you're not a member, or if you are and your membership's lapsed, then make sure it's up to date so you can attend, because it's free for members.
And I think we can have a web link at the bottom of the screen around now for the ASA website, so you can have a look at that and check your membership.
Correct.
And obviously make sure that that's renewed. And it's what, $55 if I'm correct?
I think it's gone up to $65 a year. So it's
a couple of coffees, right?
And
extra.
Most organisations will actually pay that for you in terms of your if you're a member of a vendor or a systems integrator. Even some end users will wear the cost for you as professional development. So
an incredible value, because that covered you for your entrance to the conference.
National conference as well as the local conferences.
You'd be paying $1,000 for some of the other industry conferences that are out there. So check the web link at the bottom of the screen for that one. And then and back on BRISSEC slightly. So is it going to be? Is there a flavour around it? Is it going to be something that's going to be a bit more technically focused? Is it going to be something that's going to be broad across the board?
Yeah.
What's your vision?
That's
for
great question.
BRISSEC?
Great question, because our membership is actually well dispersed. We've got a lot of technically minded members, and then a lot of them in management actually. So we're going to try and cater to both flavours. So what we've got is in the morning we've got a few keynote speakers and a panel. So up until midday, and then for the afternoon we've actually got 3 streams of workshops running. So one will be on privacy in terms of how to beef up your organisation's response to that. One will be on industrial control systems, so SCADA security.
Plenty of companies and environments around here will be very interested to sort of
mining,
come and see
manufacturing,
that,
etc.
Power,
And the last one will be around either forensics or around ethical hacking. So it'll be a 3 to 4 hour workshop introduction into how these 3 things go. So we're absolutely looking forward to. We've capped because of the venue, we've capped it at 100 members. So as I said, it's an early call for members to ensure that the membership's up to date, and when registrations do open, get in early.
Getting
because we're
early,
expecting
absolutely.
it to fill quite fast.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for coming in, Lonnie.
Thank
It's been
you.
an absolute
Thanks for the
pleasure.
invite.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. See ya.